Good afternoon, this is Atmospheric Alex here with yet another weather forecast video and discussion. Well, this will actually be a lot different than normal. We're going to be going over our northern light potential for tonight. I am extremely uncertain as to what all is going to happen, but it is starting to look like maybe that big G4 watch might not come to fruition tonight, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So to kickstart things off, I want to go over a really quick review. We currently have our coronal mass ejection that's coming out of the sun here on our coronagraph imagery, which is about to be shown here right now. And you can see this massive blast. Boom! All that material is absolutely incredible. That is all the material heading right towards Earth right now in this gigantic solar storm, which actually caused a little bit of northern light activity last night. You can also see that, just as I mentioned before, we did see a huge rise in our protons before our massive solar storm hit. This right here, though, was a radiation storm, and the secondary peak was the actual solar storm getting closer and arriving. So there was a bit of confusion there in the data. So there's definitely some uncertainties there, and right now we are starting to see our protons begin to calm down a little bit. Should we see another rise? I don't really expect it, but if we do see another solar storm, we could see another rise in protons. Definitely not likely, though, as of right now. And another unique thing that happened here is you could actually see your power behind the solar storm or your coronal mass ejection as it hit Earth. So we are looking at our data from last night here. You can see our BT here. This is just the overall power behind your solar storm here in units here. And then you could see your BZ, which is basically your more favorable magnetic tilt there to your solar storm. If you see your BZ values drop into the negative values here, then you could expect your northern light activity to be shifted further south through time, and your brightness of your northern lights become a lot more apparent. So what we're seeing here is basically your impact, your shock right here of your power. Look at that. As it impacted around 1:30 a.m. last night, we saw it rise up to around 20 to 30 units, so a moderate impact there. Nothing too strong, I will say. And then you can see these sporadic bursts of negative BZ here as we go throughout the night, and it actually sustained itself a little bit more right through here. And that's when we saw our more vigorous substorm activity, and your northern lights shot really far south and were really bright, and at times actually went all the way down into New Mexico. Then through the rest of the night, we are dealing with the sheath of the storm right through here. So again, we have our shock back here that turned into the sheath of our magnetic storm, and that is what we were dealing with earlier this morning, which even brought another big display of northern lights, potentially even further south later on this morning. And you could see your solar wind speeds increase dramatically. We went from around 700 kilometers a second all the way up to around 1,100 kilometers a second, which is a high-end storm right here. We have not seen values like this in a long time. You can see it peaking again here as we were in the middle of our sheath. Definitely quite an intense geomagnetic storm, and that just continued throughout the morning. So certainly a lot of energy power behind this. And so what about our northern lights from last night? We're going to take a look here at a live camera out of California here. This is, I believe, out of Northern California, and is provided by Alert California live webcams. They use this to track wildfires and stuff, but they do have some of these set on night mode, and you're going to see your aurora really explode here as we go throughout the night. Look at, boom, right there, very big explosion right there of a display. As we go back here, this was right around, looks like 3 a.m. Eastern time, midnight Pacific time. Look at your gorgeous red colors here and your greens. This was quite the substorm here. It went all the way down, like I said, to New Mexico last night. As we continue throughout the night, you're going to see your red just kind of staying there on your horizon. And another pretty big burst of activity that actually occurred more towards the morning hours. You could start to see here some more reds forming, and then maybe even a bit of a roll oval starting right here. And look at this, as that moves up more and more, you get a big old substorm right here. Look at that. Boom, right at sunrise. So definitely a lot of activity last night into the morning. And here's another camera that displays this very well. I believe this was around the same latitude. Look at all those pillars dancing, that massive explosion there towards the end. So they were high in the sky, and they were seen very far south last night. And here is yet another camera here. Again, same thing. Look at that big old bright explosion there. Absolutely gorgeous views. And I saw some more of them on social media from other people, like taking photos with their phones. And yeah, the colors were very vibrant last night in areas that were not filled up with smoke. And this camera especially is incredible here, coming out of Ball Rock in California. Look at that. That is just, actually almost overexposes the image there briefly. So definitely quite spectacular there as it moved on through. And then here's yet another image here. You can actually see your green auroral arc right here. Basically your northern light arc, and you're going to get pillars that extend way up above this and brighten significantly during substorm events. That's what all this red and pink is up here. So again, this was a very dynamic event here. A lot of people got to see it last night. A lot of people didn't because it was very late and it was very brief as well. So definitely quite a memorable event for sure. But are we going to see anything else tonight? So we saw last night, but how about tonight here? Well, as of this morning, we have entered our flux rope of the coronal mass ejection, and we have been staying there ever since. Now, this is going to begin to wind down here soon, which could do, well, one of two things here. I'd like you to look at this blue line here, all right? This is yet another tool we use to look for the potential for northern lights here. This is your BY component, so basically your east to west component, if you will, as opposed to your north-south component. And you could see this line going pretty far down here, and we were thinking that, well, maybe this would be a westward flux rope, which would basically allow for minimal charging, less northern light activity later tonight, to put it simply. But as of late, look at this red line here, your BZ, actually creeping into your negative values here. So we'll have to wait and see, but this is a little more complex than we thought. And if we can see this BZ line go right back down southward again, definitely could be talking about a pretty vibrant display of northern lights tonight for your mid-latitude regions. Again, if all this data can possibly get a little bit better. If not, might be a bit of a disappointment for many who are under that G4 storm watch. Now, another thing to note is maybe when this flux rope can end, we may begin to see our southward conditions intensify just a little bit, but just enough to really provide your big displays. Because as we take a look at our solar wind here, we're still elevated at around 900 kilometers a second. So certainly still very high up there. And earlier on this morning, I'll tell you what, 1,100. I have not seen numbers like that in my entire career of tracking space weather. Quite impressive to say the least. And just one more really handy dandy data product we like to look at. This is our GOES magnetometer data. This is what we use to find substorms basically. And you can see just around 1:15 p.m. for all you out there in Asia and even possibly Europe as well, I suppose, we had a massive substorm. Look at how fast your red just went up like that here. So we are definitely talking about a lot of charging that was starting right through here, and bam, just that snap upwards just released a ton of energy and really spiked your northern lights there, and then that kind of came back down. And we've been seeing a little elevated sense, so your charging is not as evident, but if we could see this red line begin to drop down again and then spike back up, we could be talking about another significant substorm, possibly for people out in Europe and especially even North America, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But you can definitely see here the Space Weather Prediction Center going quite aggressive tonight, still forecasting a G3 storm with a KP7. So Aurora, northern lights, could be visible pretty far south tonight, potentially. I could, again, this is not a guarantee at all, but it is showing it maybe into the Midwest Ohio Valley, but I definitely would not trust that. Please take that with a grain of salt because we have no idea what is going to happen, okay? One thing's for sure, cloud cover could be a bit of a hindrance tonight for some areas, as of course wildfire smoke as well. As we go into the early overnight hours, you could see here that there is a ton of cloud cover that starts to occur out here for areas of, say, Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, Tennessee especially, and North South Carolina, and even further off to the south here, have some more cloud cover. Out in the Rockies, you're completely clouded, and I am really sorry there. And then portions of Maine and the far northeastern U.S. could see more clouds as well. But look at this big chunk of clearing here. That is all going to be filled with wildfire smoke, unfortunately, so visibility will still be an issue. issue. Later on into the night, that really begins to clear out more, and areas that are not seeing your smoke, maybe perhaps out here, could see clear skies, and you may want to keep an eye on the north skies, especially if you're a little further north and if you're dedicated, because you could potentially see the northern lights yet again. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it wasn't too confusing. I'm still learning as much as you are about this, and yeah, I mean, I'm not as confident as I normally would be in just a normal weather upload, so if I kind of sounded a little bit weird today, that's probably why. But if you did enjoy the video, please be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, and even share this with friends and family on social media who may want to know the information and hopefully don't get confused by it. I try to explain it as much as possible, but have a tough time doing this when, I'm still fairly new to all this, right? That said, have a wonderful night, everyone. I do wish you all the best of luck, and I hope you all are able to see the northern lights. Again, just only do it really if you're dedicated. Otherwise, maybe just enjoy the night inside. There's a lot of uncertainties, and I don't really want to be upsetting any of you all here. That would then upset some of the space weather experts, and this is kind of a fragile field, so let's be a little careful with this. Alright, I'll see you all in the next video.